Hey, are you one of those? So around noon, we arrived at our fourth Nutmeg Nor'Easter, 3 days of cycling, camping, and community in Connecticut. It's hosted by Ronnie Romance and his partner Tenzin. Ronnie does Ron's bikes and Ultradynamico tires, among other things. So the first thing we did is ride up the ridge to where all the groups of lean-tos are. We picked one out, got all our stuff set up there. Met our neighbors, we went back down and had some hellos, running into some old friends, running into some new friends, and then it was early enough in the day that we were like, we should get one of the rides in. So there was a 10-mile chunky ride, which turned out to be a really good summary of what the Nutmeg and this area riding has to offer. So a group of us went out and did this. First time ever at Nutmeg that we've been able to get a Friday ride in, so that was really, really cool. On this Friday ride, it really was just our Ohio crew. We had just all been setting up camp and we all decided to do this without stopping back down and really asking anyone else. But that's kind of what's cool about Nutmeg Nor'Easter in general, is it's very choose your own adventure. I was doing an interview with Bike Breath a couple weeks ago on the live stream and was talking about events like this and asked if they had done any. And I know they're familiar with Nutmeg and all this kind of thing. And they're like, no, we're a little more introverted. And so I only kind of address that as like introvert meaning shy, which in that aspect, talking about how, well, one thing if you are kind of shy, a good thing about events like this is everybody wants to talk about their bikes and everyone here is bike nerds. That's one way to get into conversations. But that's not really what introverted means. It's more about having only a certain amount of social capital to spend. And so again, you don't need to be crowded by people the whole time at Nutmeg, even though there's 500 people on this property, because there's all the different groups of lean-to. You could camp down by your car. You could camp in a field. There's different sub-events going on. So there's the main lodge where people gather for food and like the party and like the route presentations, but you only need to be involved in that as much as you want to. And the ride kind of, it's a rolling start. You could leave when you want. So you're also going to be on like the Saturday, maybe passing through different groups, but with the different routes, it's never like you're stuck in this huge like social experience if you don't want to be. When this 10-mile route was described as the 10-mile chunky or whatever, it definitely was. There was some great single track, a lot of rocks under these leaves. Still some country roads, but like I said, pretty good summary of what the 55-mile chunky route that most people seem to gravitate towards at Nutmeg. That's what we're here for. We do like to ride these kind of trails when we come out here, but there was more road riding ones. And then there's an 85-mile that was a mix between this kind of stuff with a little more roads in there, a little less of the dirt and the rocks and the gravel single track.
I am the Reverend.
Riding in New England at this time of year, as you can see, is absolutely beautiful. The leaves were still hanging on to some color. We had this perfect weather, total 180 from last year where it was just like a monsoon and everything was soaked in underwater, which created its own kind of fun as well. But I'll take the sunshine and the warmer weather pretty much any day of the week.
Feel the sound, feel the music.
When we finished our 10-mile chunky route, we ran into our friends Brad and Ames and Mikey, who were about to head out. They had the same idea. They got in a little later, and they were going to get the ride in. Our only thing on this evening was to be back for the route presentation. So after we finished our ride, we went up to the lean-to, grabbed some warmer clothes for the evening, some beers and stuff like that, and came back down to the lodge. saw the route presentation, and then it was social hour. Bikepacking.com made a really good article about this, and the guy wrote it. It was his first time out here, and he was just talking about how he watched so many conversations seem like they just resumed after 365 days, like they haven't skipped a beat. And having come here for 4 years and now gone to some other events and met people that were at this, that really is how it feels. Don't let that, if you haven't been here before and you want to come next year, stop you, because everyone has to come for a first time. And this is the most welcoming group I think I've ever been a part of.
Seems like a bad idea. Wait until I can film it.
And just to speak on that for one more second, yes, when you come to an event like this hosted by Ronnie Romance, there's going to be some like-minded people. You're going to see a lot of classic triangle steel bikes, vintage bikes, custom builds, whatever it may be, smaller brands. But if you show up on a carbon trek in full kit, nobody cares, as long as you're a nice person and you're there to have fun riding bikes and hang out. That's the whole vibe of the place. In the morning, Ben woke me up and he said, Aaron said, get your ass down there. She has a breakfast sandwich for you. So went down, got my breakfast sandwich and coffee. And then there was a Tibetan blessing prayer with Tenzin's mom in the morning. And then it was people started to assemble their groups and choose their routes and head out on the road.
I went down the road was morning. I found my toe wasn't ugly. 2 hours to wash it down, 2,000 souls. Who's gonna have it really go?
We had talked about rolling out with some other friends, but this starts a little chaotic in the way that you're talking to people, you keep running into other people, everyone's looking for their group to try and roll out together. So it's going to try and roll out with Bradley and some other people, but rolled out I think with 5 of us from Akron. But the cool thing about this route is nobody's really racing. I mean, I'm sure if you want to race it and you want to just try and go as fast as you can and get it done, of course you could. But, we're doing weight ups, we're taking breaks, as you'll see we stop in Chester and all that. So you kind of end up bouncing through groups at intersections and helping people with directions. So you end up seeing a lot of people out on the road, and kind of different groups will end up forming, or you'll ride with some people for a little bit and split up. At least that's the way we do it. Another cool thing about this morning is another friend from Akron was there, Chris. So Aaron and Chris are friends, and I think from a work relationship, but I knew Chris because we ran in all the same circles when I was playing in bands and I was younger and going to all the same bars and all the same places. So he's been gone from Ohio, I think he said, for about 10 years. He's lived out this way for about 8 years, I believe. So one of those great things, catching up with an old friend on the ride. So he didn't spend the night or camp or anything because his wife's parents live real close to here. So he came out for the first half of the ride in the morning and then split off and headed home. So last year before Nutmeg, we had spent a week in Kingston, which is in the Hudson Valley, and we did a bunch of mountain biking. Some of the videos I made about that, one was titled 30 Mile Rock Garden, and a lot of the locals have been getting on my case about what I had to say about New England style mountain biking, just the nonstop rocks and what you're kind of seeing here. The thing is, I really enjoy this kind of riding. It's what I'm here for. But what I really like about this 55-mile course is that it's mixed. So you'll hit these sections of single track that could be challenging, and for me, that don't put a foot down challenge and slow going. And then all of a sudden you're on more of a gravel road like this, and then you'll be off on a pretty country road to get to the next section. And the terrain is just so varied, and that's what I like. The mix of dirt, the mix of rocks, the mix of roads, gravel. Pretty much you hit it all on these, and that's what I enjoy. So those New England videos, I didn't mean to be oh, I hate what you guys have here. It's I like it in doses. And if you watch my other videos, that's how we ride around here. That's why, gravel bikes and ATV bikes make so much sense for us, and why I barely ride a road bike anymore, is because we're going to ride to get to the cuts, ride the cuts, be back on roads in this same kind of mixed vibe that Nutmeg is. Just way less rocks here in Ohio. This is a pretty climby route as well. I think almost all the routes are fairly climby, except for the one that just goes out to the coast, I haven't looked into that one as much. That would be a cool Friday night ride next year. A ton of people did that last year with the horrible weather too. But this actually turned out to be Aaron's climbiest ride ever. I'll have the Strava link below. Like always, I think it was over 5,000 feet. I forgot to look it up before I started recording. One really fun thing we were doing with the group we ran into here, who happened to also be the people who were staying at the lean-to next to us, they were trying to catch the falling leaves as they rode. I've never thought of that. Once you start doing it, it is so fun and such a challenge to try and catch them. Anyways, yeah, just these random little things that happen along the way that just make this event. I brought my gunner again this year. I love the 55 millimeter tires and the sweep bars. It's events like Nutmeg, Higher Ground, and some of the other ones that we've done like this that really inspired me with this build. I mean, my local shop owner too was a big proponent of, wide tires and sweep bars, but it's just so fun to ride these kind of events on that bike. The first 2 years I rode my Rally and it worked fine on its 42s and drop bars, but I just find it a lot more fun to be on the sweeps and the wider tires for this kind of chunk. It definitely was a bit different later in this trip, as you'll see in future videos, because we ended up doing a road tour, but this was the main event, this is what we were here for, and this is the right bike for the job.
What's up, nerds?
After I stopped to take my nature break, as the British say, that's where we caught up with Ames and Brad, or I should say they caught up with us because they started a little later. It was cool. They were riding with Keith, who I believe we've met at every single Nutmeg, but if not, it was the second one we went to. And we've always ended up at Little House Brewing in Chester together, so it's awesome we caught up here because same thing, we all got to hang out again on this ride. And we actually rode almost the whole rest of the ride with them. All the road sections were pretty chill, had no issues with cars. I don't think we ever have at Nutmeg. You're always going to get a close pass here and there, whatever you do, but it's the exception, not the rule. It was really cool that just like last year at Little House Brewing in Chester, we ran into Terry Berenson and Alex and the New York crew, so we got to have some beers and catch up and even talk a little bit of shop for a while.
What's your review of this? It's dry, but it's We got a camera! Oh, we got another camera!
That was also Joe right there, who rides with Ronnie a lot, and I got a ride with at Nutmeg last year and really get to know. He makes good YouTube videos as well, and I'm sure he'll have a Nutmeg video out at some point. I really enjoy nerding out with the New York crew because not just do we have the bike mutual interests, but a lot of them are DPs and camera operators, data wranglers, and editors, so kind of get to talk shop with people who do a similar thing that I do, but New York guys and East Coast guys do it on such a higher level.
Here's the sound, the organ sound. Are you ready to listen? The sound, the organ sound.
I think Chester is a little past the halfway point, so after that it was back out on the road, bouncing through groups, having conversations. And like I said, we go out to spend all day on the bike doing this, so no race, no big hurry. We're just having fun, chatting. We break up a little bit as we go through the challenging sections and everyone's trying to ride it the way they want to ride it. But beyond that, we regroup and, just have a good day.
Is the jazz sound. Jazz sound. The smoking sound.
The route that I did this year, I think, was almost the same as last year. The reason that didn't bother me at all is, one, if you only do a route that's this varied 2 years in a row, it's not like you're going to remember it all. But the other thing is, with it being underwater, as I mentioned last year, it felt very, very different. If you go back and watch that video, we're going through 2-foot deep puddles, and just, it was crazy. You know, turned out, like I said, turned out to be fun, but I definitely will take this. As it was mentioned, it was actually so dry that there was a fire ban, so we weren't allowed to have campfires at the different lean-tos. That kind of changed things a little bit, but I think it also made it so more people did come into the lodge and hang out. So, you know, every little thing changes the way things are going to go, and maybe there's some negatives, but it also turns out to be some benefits.
The sound. The sound. The smoking sound.
It is towards the end of this route that you get hit with a long section of some of the pretty rough stuff, even some really steep hike-a-bike. Nothing hike-a-bike on this trail, at least on the bikes we were on, is too long, but there are some sections where definitely I was not going to be capable of riding no matter what.
I am looking at the fatmas of the Sahara. They're dancing in the moonlight of Arabia. I'm walking like
A little hike-a-bike section there, but again, totally worth it. We stopped at the top and had some snacks, took some photos, really cool views up there. So, yeah, there's nothing on this route that I would change. It's all worth it.
I'm walking like a camel. I jump across the dunes. I drink a magic potion in the house of Prince Harun. I am driving in the cavern of Ali.
Just a quick note about how I make the videos, because there's always some people who ask. This is a GoPro 11 filming all this footage, and I have a Pro Standard grill mount, so when you're seeing this POV, there's a GoPro in my mouth, basically. The camera on my back is a Canon EOS R8. I only used one lens on this trip. It's a cheap 50mm 1.8, but I really like the look I get from it for how small and compact and light this setup is. It's funny sometimes, you know, I am a photographer. It's what I do for a living. I do miss my gear. My professional gear is the R5, and you know, I have all kinds of nicer L lenses and that stuff. But in general, I'm here for vacation, and I have to remind myself once in a while that I'm not working. So when the speeches are going on, I'm like, oh man, I wish I had my 200F 2.8, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But in general, I really enjoy making the videos. They're not like, it's not a hindrance to me having a good time. And, you know, I'm going to get some good photos. I'm going to have some fun photos, but I'm not working, you know. This is my vacation. So. So we got in just a bit after sunset. I didn't even bother rooting around my bag for my headlight as we were so close to being done. I always have a tail light on my bike. I wouldn't ride without one. I don't always turn it on during the day, but it's always there for when I need it. When we got in, we went straight to the pizza. Fire in the Kitchen pizza is so good. They've been at all the nutmegs we've done. After that, we went up and changed our clothes and then came back down for the party. The party this year was an absolute blast. Our buddy Peter was DJing. He's from Ann Arbor. And then Mr. Natty did a set. There were a couple bands earlier, and they were really good too, but I was just kind of catching up with old friends and stuff, so mostly heard them from outside. And no shade on the other years in the Saturday night party, but this was definitely the best one yet. People were really having a good time. It was a lot of fun. Keith also busted out his LED orbs, which turned out to be such a great thing. You'll see those in the photos here at the end. In the morning, it was back down for the Scorcher race. So there's a single speed race every year. I don't participate. I just go to watch, and so does a bunch of other people. I think there are 19 or 20 people actually racing it this year. So they go and they do a practice lap, and then the race is on. It's a lot of fun to take photos of. They even did a beer shotgunning contest before it. And yeah, just a good time to take photos, which is mostly what I did. I don't think I actually captured any video of the race.
I am driving in the cavern of Papa. I am twisting with the barbarian.
After they did the podiums where they awarded the winner with the sword that Buddy Mikey had made, I went into the next part of my trip mode. I had to decide what I wanted to load up on my bike because I was heading out for a couple days on the road with Dylan. And so looking at the weather, deciding what I had room for, and then putting the rest of the stuff I didn't need into Aaron's car. So just an absolutely awesome Nutmeg again. We pretty much block off the end of October every year and know this is what we're doing, and then we'll plan side trips around it. So yeah, the next video will be me and Dylan bikepacking onto Long Island, taking a ferry, heading to New York City and all that stuff. Turned out to be another great part of the trip, so get subscribed up if you want to see any of that. If you really like these videos and you want to support this kind of stuff, I do have channel memberships available and even a little merch store with some stickers. I will see you in the next video. Thanks as always for watching. Peace.
The strange Italian song. The strange Italian song. Are you strange too? The word is strange. Are you strange too? The word is strange. The strange Italian song. The strange Italian song. Now listen to the melody. Maybe it come from me.